Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wendy Farthing. I'm the Deputy of the Maryland Living Well Center of Excellence. And before we get started, I want to welcome everyone for joining us. If you are returning to join us this month, welcome back. We are now in year 2 of our Ask the Expert series with WEP. If this is your first talk, we have previous recorded talks on our website for you to visit and get the website and resources than the recorded talk that has been available for us. We have a variety of subject matters for you to have an interest in. We're pleased to provide professional development and community education this monthly Lunch and Learn Ask the Expert to help address the growing health crisis. The series will provide an opportunity to engage with dementia experts on the topics related to cognitive health, dementia care, caregiving, local services, as well as support. So we are pleased today to have Jane Marks. She is an RN and MS, the lead WEP educator and nurse at the Division of Geriatric Medicine and Gerontology. And with her, she will be introducing Mark Tesoro, who will be our speaker today. We're going to be addressing a map overview for Maryland Access Point. It was with the Maryland Department on Aging. So I'm going to turn this over to Jane.
Welcome, everyone, and happy almost spring. Hopefully it won't snow on the first day. Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce Mark to you. Mark serves as the Cognitive and Behavioral Health Specialist for the Maryland Department of Aging, a position that he's held since 2023 in August. He's a key figure in the department's initiatives surrounding dementia care, caregiver support, and brain health. And he brings with us today a lot of resource information that we can use in our daily caring for someone with dementia or providing information. So welcome, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
It would be nice if I turned my microphone on. Thank you for having me. What a lovely introduction. I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to welcome everybody today. This is just an honor for me to have a conversation with everybody. As was mentioned, I'm the Cognitive and Behavioral Health Specialist here at the Department of Aging, and I'm just going to review many of the programs actually that are going on throughout our offices at the Department of Aging. I am not an expert in every one of these programs. I can try to speak to them as best I can. So bear with me if you have more questions than I have answers. I can certainly connect you to the right people if I am not able to answer your question appropriately. But I am going to do my best to share with you the community services that are offered. But I think first you should know who we are at the Department of Aging. We are not the Maryland Department of Health, which is a separate entity. We at the Department of Aging have our own secretary appointed by Governor Moore.
Did you get into it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Thanks.
Oops, I'm sorry. If you can mute your mics, that would be helpful. Thank you. So we have our own secretary appointed by Governor Moore. We have our own mission and vision statements. So I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about kind of how we're a little different than the Department of Aging. We certainly partner with the Department of Aging, but we are a separate, our office is maybe 50 people, where that's not the case, obviously, with the Department of Health. Next slide, please. So our mission at the Department of Aging is to prepare for the growing population of older adults by developing innovative approaches to aging, advancing multi-sector collaborations, and providing equitable access to resources. So when we talk about advancing multi-sector collaborations, what we're talking about here is just really the non-traditional partners that we are really starting to work with. So while the Department of Health is one of our major partners, the offices and the other non-traditional partners that we're working with are the offices of labor or the housing department or the transportation department to try to make sure that folks growing older have the resources and services they need. When we talk about access or equitable access to resources, we're also making sure that the underserved and rural populations also receive the services and programming that they need. So that's our our mission. The vision, next slide, is really transforming institutions, systems, and norms so all older adults live lives that are healthy, financially secure, socially connected, and purposeful. And we'll see in a bit how our Department of Aging plans to get there with something called Longevity Ready Maryland, if you're not familiar with it already. But we will talk about Longevity Ready Maryland, which is our plan to make sure those institutions and norms and all of those agencies I talked about have a mindset of what growing older in Maryland should look like, that each of their offices have a plan and speak to older adults. And it does mention a 100-year lifespan. That's no accident. The next slide, you'll see that Marylanders are living longer. If you're not familiar or aware of this yet, it is a huge, huge issue. By 2040, it's predicted that almost 30% of the residents in this state will be 60 years of age or older. Right now, 2026, we're looking at around 25% currently, and we're not really ready for that influx of population of older adults. We need to ramp up our systems and ramp up our programs to meet these older adults where they are and their needs. Next slide. In fact, I'm not even sure if you're familiar or heard the statistic before, but half of all 5-year-olds today, half of them can expect to live to 100 years old. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but I remember when the Today Show, the morning show, would announce 100-year birthdays regularly. It was that infrequent and that uncommon. Now it's become much more common to live to 100 years old and beyond. My mom and dad live in an assisted living facility, and they have multiple residents there that are 100 or over, 104, 102. So what was a very unique thing maybe a few decades ago is now something that's actually fairly common. And again, with half of all 5-year-olds expecting to live to 100 will be even more common. So we need to really start thinking differently. Next slide. We need to shift our mindsets. And if you have worked with folks who have memory issues or memory loss, you've worked likely with older adults. But frankly, the greatest impact in a public health perspective will only be achieved by focusing not only focusing on older adults, but also younger audiences as well. Topics like good nutrition, exercise, proper sleep, reducing screen time, keeping engaged with community will all help us age more successfully. So I wanted to emphasize that it's just never too early or too late to start this mindset of a life course approach to reducing dementia risk. Next slide, please. So how do we get funded? I wanted to just kind of speak to where our funding comes from. Much of our funding is from the Older Americans Act. We receive grants from ACL, the Administration for Community Living. We also receive funds as the State Unit on Aging. The Department of Aging is the State Unit on Aging, and we distribute those funds to our local area agencies on aging. So with MAC and our host, the Living Well Center of Excellence, they certainly receive funds, as well as all of the other area agencies on aging at the local level. There are 19 of those agencies throughout the state, representing all 23 Maryland counties. So we provide that sort of funding. We don't deliver the services. We provide the funding to help the AAAs deliver those services. Next slide. So if you remember just a few slides ago, I mentioned that our department's vision is one of health and financial security and social connection and purposefulness. This is the plan on how we intend to get there. And I provided a QR code and our link at the bottom to go into more detail if you're interested in going into more detail on how our office plans to achieve all of those things. That Longevity Ready Maryland plan is how we intend to get there. Next slide. In that plan, there are what we refer to as epic goals. Those epic goals include building a longevity ecosystem, which we were talking about earlier about cross-sector coordination, making sure there's justice and equity and inclusion in the access to services. Again, we were talking about underutilized or underserved or rural communities, making sure that they get access to that ecosystem of services. Promoting economic opportunity. A lot of our older individuals, especially like we were saying, as 25% of the population or more, um, many of them are continue to work well after they're 60, 65. So there's a huge economic benefit to helping those older adults stay employed as long as they want to, and making sure that there's supports around them to make sure they're able to have those economic opportunities that they want. Another epic goal is to prepare Marylanders to afford longevity. Uh, Affording housing, tremendous issue and tremendous cost, especially as we grow older. We find an influx of folks moving from the cities into the more rural counties because it's more affordable very often. We're looking to try to help people have financial stability and services and benefits that help them afford growing older. We don't want people to be impoverished just because they're older individuals. And finally, optimizing health, wellness, and mobility. That's the health piece of our vision. Accessing equitable systems of care, preventative work, as we'll see in a bit here. Very often, I like to think of the spectrum of care that we have. So everything from the pre-hospitalization, the prevention piece, to the hospitalization, and then the post-hospitalization and long-term care and follow-up and rehabilitation. We primarily are focused in that potential portion of the spectrum that is in the prevention piece, and that long term, and we try to assist with the long term and that long term care kind of piece and that rehabilitation piece as best we can to provide wraparound services to make people more comfortable as they grow older. So how do Marylanders access the programs and services at the Department of Aging funds? Next slide. Well, it's through our MAP services, and MAP stands for Maryland Access Point. If you're not familiar with the term MAP, those MAP access points, again, are typically housed at the area agencies on aging. We refer to it as MAP. It is literally our one-stop shop to connect people to the sort resources that they need and the services and the supports that they might be needing. The QR code, again, will link you to our page and will direct you right to our map page. I will also be, at the end of this talk, be providing, because there are 19 different map locations and map sites with the area agencies on aging. At the very last slide of the presentation, we'll have all of the phone numbers available to each of the local AAA's, area agencies on aging. That link there also will get you right to our info page. So what happens when you contact MAP? If you switch to the next slide, please. So once you access the map, you will be taken to an individual who we call a map counselor, and they'll do what's called a level 1 screening. That level 1 screening will help us get an idea of how we can connect you to the supports that you need and really try to holistically meet your needs in one shop stopping. So really this is referred to as making sure there's no wrong door, and that the individuals have access and are able to have their services met and needs met. They will help them. The MAP counselors will help people apply for their community waiver options. They will help them with long-term care goals. They will help make referrals to a variety of different programs. We consider them the local experts in what resources are available in their local area, and help provide applications for assistance and support. They will help really get an idea of what services people qualify for and help engage them in those services. Next slide. So the MAP core services include that information and assistance, like I was mentioning, just outreach and educational opportunities, referrals to resources, and if they are having trouble filling out applications, certainly some application assistance. We mentioned the level 1 screen, so I'm not going to talk about that again, but we haven't mentioned options counseling. And what options counseling is really person-centered counseling. Um, I know, it's not about what I want you to do. It's about what you want to do. So it's all about what the person wants to, how they see themselves growing older, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with, and just identifying what their needs are to try to put those wraparound services in place to make sure those needs are addressed. Um, and it's also about beginning to create a plan. MAP is very good at trying to start to organize and create a plan for care. They're not necessarily designed to do long-term follow-up of that care plan, but they certainly can provide options counseling on what is available and what's not available for them. And then finally, the MFP program stands for Money Follows the Person. That's a Medicaid program that helps people move from long-term care or a nursing home back to their home, back to their own home if they want. So it allows Medicaid funding to follow the individual. That's that program in particular. Next slide. So what MAP does and what MAP doesn't do. So MAP is really good at and are experts in getting information to people, planning, like I said, long-term care services, getting connected to resources that are local, educating about personal and community resource priorities, making sure they understand, what their own resource priorities are. What MAP isn't designed for is crisis intervention. And frankly, a lot of the MAP calls people wait to contact MAP until they're in crisis, which is not what it's designed for. So while the counselors are trained to handle crises, 911 and that kind of thing, it certainly is not a hotline or any kind of crisis intervention service. It is also not a service that is meant to expedite or prioritize people through programs. It is meant to just engage people into those programs. So that's something to remember as well. And in terms of case management, I mentioned that they're really good at establishing those options counseling case kind of plans, but they're not necessarily designed to manage the case long term and follow up with that case management. So what are some of the programs that we help at the Department of Aging that we help fund the AAAs and the senior centers? Next slide. Some of the programs include health promotion and disease prevention. So what are some of those health promotion and disease prevention programs? Well, health education programs. Living Well Center of Excellence is an excellent example of a lot of this. This exact effort is one of those kinds of opportunities. Self-management programs, the chronic disease self-management program, evidence-based, wonderful program to help people take control of their long-term care needs. There's falls prevention programs that we do, Moving for a Better Balance, Staying Active and Independent for Life, the SAIL program. Again, Living Well Center of Excellence, as well as our office, are on the Maryland Falls Free Coalition, and are part of the National Council on Aging's Falls Prevention Coalition. So we're actively engaging with the AAAs and our Living Well Center of Excellence to make sure those occur. A lot of physical fitness exercise activities, enhancing fitness, Arthritis Foundation exercises for programs. Bingo size is another one. So again, all evidence-based programs, and really a lot of people participating in these. A lot of these programs serve over 4,000 older adults across the 119 senior centers throughout Maryland. Including some people, residential apartment buildings and those kind of things that have multi-purpose rooms and those kinds of things. Next slide. So my area, oh, actually, one of the other pieces that I wanted to mention is the senior call check program. This has seen some real changes and development. So it originally was established in 2019 for offering free automated daily wellness checks by phone. And it was an automated call that would go to people to check in on them and see how they're doing. It was for adults over age 65. The program currently serves about 1,500 people, which is great. And if a participant doesn't pick up after the first few attempts to try to reach them, an alternate contact is made to contact the person's based on their wishes. If there's another person that we should reach out to or have a wellness check or those kinds of things. Now, very recently, 2025, we expanded the program at the Department of Aging to further address really social isolation needs in connection with the program. So we actually lowered the age of eligibility from 65 to 60. We've launched, instead of an automated call, a live call program that currently serves about 200 to 300 people weekly. And we created flexibility by offering multiple different ways of contacting. Some people prefer, now the technology is getting so common, people prefer texting sometimes, people prefer a live call, those kinds of things. So we're excited by this and hopefully will help in the future work with other partners to try to continue to have that social isolation and that connection piece more battened down because I think there's potential there to really expand that opportunity. Next slide, please. So brain and mental health. So this is kind of my world. Again, the QR code and the link there is at the bottom. There's a number of different resources that are available through the AAAs to help with dementia and mental health issues. Very often, we work with brain health resources from the Alzheimer's Association and mental health and substance abuse pieces through the Maryland Mental Health Association. And so we have access to those resources and try to direct people to those resources that are available throughout the state for those mental health and substance abuse issues. The Department of Aging has put into place two very helpful, I think, self-service tools very recently for the public and for caregivers to use and to get some support. Those being the Johns Hopkins Memory Care Family Checklist, which is a mouthful. We refer to it as the checklist or the family checklist. That's a tool that's designed to help caregivers really prioritize their needs. It's a needs assessment, but it does so much more. It links to resources and all kinds of things. The other tool is the ADA cognitive screening tool, and that helps people get an idea of whether they're having some memory issues that are more significant and more clinical than just normal age-associated memory issues. So next slide. So the suite of the brain tools that we have are this 88, which AD stands for Assess Dementia, 8 standing for 8 questions, a very, very brief screening tool that is self-administered. One of the reasons we chose to use this tool is because it can be self-administered, but also actually more indicative and more sensitive when somebody else administers it on behalf of somebody. And that being because most people tend to diminish or really underreport their own deficiencies. So it's actually very sensitive to the difference between normal age-associated memory loss and what we refer to as mild cognitive impairment, which would be the kind of precursor to a more dementia kind of issue. This 88 tool was developed by Washington University, so an excellent top-notch research organization. And it's our pre-diagnosis tool. So really, this tool, this 88 assessment, is not if you are already identified as having or have a diagnosis of dementia, this 88 screening will do nothing for you. This is for the AAA, those MAP staff members, those MAP coordinators, when they receive a call and somebody says, "Ooh, I'm worried about my mother. I think she may be having some memory issues, but I can't tell if it's normal or if it's something more than that." This is the tool, that 88 is what they direct them to kind of get an idea of whether there's something significant and something that needs to be followed up on a more formal way. Now, this other tool, this memory care checklist tool that we have available, and again, both links are at the bottom there, that is a needs assessment tool to try to help caregivers um, develop and start to develop a care plan for people that have already been diagnosed with dementia. So this is post kind of diagnosis tool for supporting caregivers. It provides caregivers and person living with dementia all kinds of support. And the reason for that is that it provides information on what to know. So what needs are important and why they're important, what to do. It actually provides a checklist on how to address those needs, and then a where to go section, which will literally link to Maryland 211 and provide hyper-local resources literally into the community that you live in of how to get the care and the support that you need. And again, this is a post-diagnostic tool developed by Hopkins from their Mind at Home program that they've been using. So it's just really, really well thought out, many, many years in use, and just was a natural fit for us to make sure that we use and take advantage of the wonderful work and the number of resources that have been tied to this work. So very, very excited that both. Please don't hesitate to refer people to either of those tools. Again, they're meant to be self-service tools so that the individual and the caregiver can complete them themselves and get all kinds of information back. On that checklist tool, it even sends an email with the entire report that you can bring to your physician and kind of go over the issues and concerns in the clinical setting. Next slide. One of the other projects that we're working on, and I know that Jane Marks in Hopkins is very familiar with this as well, is getting an ECHO dementia program up and running. So ECHO stands for an extension for community healthcare outcomes, which is very much like this setting that we're sitting in today. The thinking is that people really need access to specialty care. And the problem is there's just not enough specialty care out there for everyone who needs that care. So, and especially in the underserved communities, in those rural communities in particular, access to primary care is challenging, never mind specialty care like gerontologists or neuropsychologists. So what ECHO does is it trains primary care clinicians to provide really more specialized care or to feel more comfortable working with clients that need more specialized care. And it means more people can get the access to the services they need than they would have normally. And eventually the goal is, and the hope is that patients get the right care in the right place in the right time. And this just improves outcomes overall and reduces costs, which always is a factor as we start to look at these issues on a large scale. So developing this ECHO dementia piece is really exciting. We're working, I know Hopkins has one. We're working with the University of Maryland right now to the G-Gear program, also to get one up and running, and we're doing that now. But your participation in these kinds of efforts is very much ECHO-like. So thank you for participating in these kinds of things. Next slide. Some other dementia support programs we have. Now, this doesn't mean that every AAA or every MAP has all of these programs available. It's very easy to say, oh, all of these are happening throughout the state. Well, you know what? Some of the AAAs, area agencies on aging, have very robust programs. Others very small programs. Some are almost a one-person shop in some of the more rural counties. So while some of these services are available, maybe not all of them will be available in every senior center, area agency on aging, et cetera. But some are very robust programs. Some have a social worker on hand, and they have one-on-one counseling opportunities. Others have what are called memory cafes, where they have support groups for people that are experiencing memory, and their caregivers can have and have open and frank conversations about their trials and tribulations of dementia. There's social day programs. Very often we try to have respite opportunities at these social day programs to allow people and caregivers in particular to get catch their breath and make sure that they have an opportunity to decompress a little bit themselves. So our funding goes to very often these social day programs or respite programs. A number of programs that are evidence-based, Dementia Live. Excellent program, very frequent in a lot of the AAA's area. That Dementia Live is a virtual reality opportunity for people to really experience, caregivers to experience what it's like to actually have dementia. It is very emotional very often for a lot of the caregivers. It provides significant insight and I think helps build some resilience in terms of having some patience with people, especially family members, going through dementia because you've experienced it yourself and know that you may be frustrated, but they're probably even more frustrated that they can't do certain things. And it helps bring that experience to life. So that Dementia Life program is excellent. The three caregiver programs, I know that Living Well Center of Excellence is the lead in all of these for our state. They're the hub to providing these services. Is the Building Better Caregivers program. Again, all evidence-based. The Savvy Caregivers program, the Powerful Tool for Caregivers, all providing resources and tools in the toolbox for caregivers to kind of bring home with them to support them in their caregiving needs and the caregiving issues. We are really focused at the Department of Aging on trying to support the caregiver as much as possible because most people want to age in place. They want to age at home. And the way they need to do that is to have somebody potentially helping them make sure that occurs. So those caregiver portions and those caregiver pieces for us at the Department of Aging that the Living Well Center helps to deliver for us is incredibly important and vital for helping caregivers get the care that they need. A lot of our AAAs have what's called a True Alta program, which is really an online platform for caregivers that provides educational content. It provides tutorials. It has some support and resources that people can access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Very often, caregivers have such little time that they maybe when they're eating dinner or just after dinner when they have a break, they can kind of jump on this tool that's online to be able to access those resources. Some of the other AAA programs have included, which I love, Lego Serious Play. It sounds almost silly, but it is amazing how people come out of their shell when they engage themselves in putting something together or building something, and it builds a connection with the person who may be having language issues in particular. It also is a program that is, again, evidence-based and helps people, I think, have what I found, especially as a caregiver for my parents, as a caregiver, you get tired of talking about health issues and what they haven't been able to do or what they need to do. And it's nice to have an opportunity to just kind of bond with the person like you haven't in a while. And Lego Serious Play offers that opportunity. We have a family caregiver support program that I'm going to talk about in a second, which does a lot of different opportunities for caregiver work, which I'm going to detail in a moment. There's virtual reality goggles that people are using. One of the best stories that stuck with me was at the MAC Center there, where the Living Well Center of Excellence resides, where they had somebody who was an engineer who had dementia. And they put on the reality goggles, and because they were an engineer, a structural engineer, they brought him back to the bridges that he built as a younger man. And it really engaged him to be back there and be able to talk about these different bridges that he had built as a younger person. So again, very engaging, not available necessarily everywhere, but certainly leveraging the technology to make sure we're helping these folks. Again, at MAC, a community garden opportunity, wonderful opportunity to get people engaged and out there and maybe out of their normal comfort zone. And then not only that, but actually doing a diet or a diet program with the vegetables and different fruits and vegetables that they've grown. So combining the community garden with these Mind Diet, which Mind stands for I think it's Mind Diet is Mediterranean dash which is Mediterranean diet and a DASH diet, intervention for neurodegenerative delay. So that's what MIND stands for. And what it really is increasing antioxidants, increasing anti-inflammatories to potentially help slow cognitive decline. So it really is part of our, as a state, food as a medicine concept. So very exciting pieces. Again, not all AAAs have that piece, all those pieces in place, but many of them have at least parts of those pieces in place. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the caregiving piece. So our caregiving program provides funds for the senior care program, which it provides case management and support. So provides caregiver supports to families and informal caregivers as well as formal caregivers. Long-term caregiving, really those activities of daily living and making sure we're supporting those and nursing assistance and specialized medical care. I mentioned the respite services. This is where most of the respite services funding comes from, is from the caregiving program. So short-term care of individuals with, functional disabilities, and certainly dementia is part of that, as well as medical and adult daycare opportunities. So again, to provide some respite opportunities as well as some support for those folks who are living with mental health issues as well as dementia. Next slide. There are nutrition services that we provide as well, or that we fund to provide. So there are home delivered meals. There are congregate dining opportunities in those facilities that have a kitchen available to them. There are senior farmers market marketing nutrition opportunities where they actually give coupons to individuals at these farmer markets with exchange for food. I can tell you right now that you will not be able to buy, say, cotton candy at a at a farmer's market coupon, but they do provide coupons for food at these farmers markets that are nutritious and healthy foods. There is a supplemental nutrition assistance program, or SNAP, that we help administer through the Department of Human Services for low-income households. So we help with that, engaging those services as well throughout the state. Next slide, please. And there's an equipment and technology program that we work with and help fund. So I'm not sure if folks are familiar with or not, but a wonderful and a gigantic program with a huge warehouse full of materials is the Durable Medical Equipment Program. This is free medical equipment that have been donated and refurbished and clean for Marylanders with any illness, injury, or disability to have access to. Again, the link below and the QR code will connect you up with these services. There's a Maryland Relay that supports Marylanders who have difficulty using telephone services, so or to make sure that people are able to communicate their needs and not discriminated against. So we have Maryland Relay program that we support. There's Assistant Devices and Technology program that is part of the Department of Health as well, that adapts equipment and devices and other supports to help communicate or work with folks for their activities of daily living. I actually utilized, I'll tell you this right now, I actually utilized that assisted devices and technology group because they had a pair of glasses that provided closed captioning. I have hearing issues, and I wanted to see what this technology was like. And I ended up borrowing a pair of these glasses that close caption at the bottom so you can kind of read instead of having to try to struggle to hear. And it's really, really amazing. And they provided me those glasses, I think, for a month or two just to kind of test. Some of these devices are fairly expensive. So to be able to test them out before purchasing them and seeing if they meet your needs is really, really helpful. So again, really consider the assisted devices and technology team. There's also communication equipment, free telecommunication equipment to Maryland residents who are eligible and who are making or receiving phone calls. So that's available. Portable ramp loans. So portable ramps for people who are in need of short-term solutions for getting in and out of their homes. I know that there's even a financial loan program with the Department of Disabilities that if you need a car to have assisted devices installed on the car, they will help because that is tremendously like if you have ever seen those vans that pull up in the handicap spots, that's a tremendous expense to convert a van like that over. So they will help provide low interest loans available to folks so that they can access those pieces of equipment. Um, Next slide. So I promised that my last slide would be the Maryland Access Point um, phone numbers throughout the state. So these are various phone numbers, hyper-local resources available to folks that will, again, give you the front door to all of these services and help navigate a lot of the services that are available through the Department of Aging's funding, as well as the, Administration for Community Living, and really overall the Older Americans Act funding. But it all funnels down to where the rubber meets the road are these offices at these local county level. That's it from me. The next slide is just my name and my uh, email information. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this information with everybody. And I guess I'll just open it up for questions if I can answer any. Again, so many different programs. I'm not an expert in every one of them, but I'd be happy to try to answer anything that you may have questions with.
Mark,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
so much. Yeah,
Wow.
that was a
A lot
lot.
of great information, Mark. Thank you. There's a question in the chat. How would your physician group get involved in the ECHO program? And I know that there's one going on now from the University of Maryland. I'm
Yeah,
not
so
sure. Is
thank you
that
for
still
that question.
open?
Yeah, so the way we set up our Echoes is an Echo series. So we have a number of different, very similar to this, a number of different opportunities for clinicians to get involved into the Echo program. Uh, I think there's 6 sessions that we're having. I think there's a different topic for each one of the sessions. You don't have to attend all of the sessions, but I certainly, if you send me an email or communicate to Wendy, and I'll be happy to connect you up with our next Echo sessions. Thank you for
Thank you,
your
Mark.
interest. The more people that engage in that, I know that I speak for Jane as well. The more people that engage in these Echo opportunities, and I think the last one we held, I have to say, was so inspiring because I think the smaller clinics and the smaller practices, when they see large institutions having the same challenges and the same difficulties with some of these working with some of these clients, I think it kind of builds their confidence a little bit that they're not doing things wrong and that that they're not out of the loop on things. It's just hard, and it provides an opportunity for everybody to share collectively their clinical wisdom, their opportunity to kind of share in what their experience has been. So it's an all teach, all learn model, and we kind of try to kind of provide recommendations for how to move forward on a lot of challenging cases.
Mark, please share that. I will make sure that
Oh,
that
sure.
is shared on our social media platforms as well to our partner
Absolutely.
organizations. I'm sharing this slide. Thank you for plugging our programs, and I want to thank the Maryland Department on Aging as well for their partnership and having us offer through our virtual hub a variety of evidence-based programs. And we're currently working with them on a series of classes. We're alternating between building better caregivers and powerful tools for caregivers. We also offered some other recorded webinars in collaboration with the Alzheimer's Association. They are on our website. There is a QR code for registration that takes you right there. It's easy, it's free. So I do encourage your engagement in those programs, as well as Jane Marks. They provided funding for 4 additional Savvy classes that we're running now through the end of June. So those are up and live on our website, and registration is occurring there. We have wait lists, and we are opening classes, monthly with new subject matter. So thank you for helping us with that implementation,
Always.
both of
No
you.
worries.
I'm,
Thank you for doing such a great job distributing all that great information.
I'm going to just bring up one other program that I think is important to mention, and that's Maryland PACE programs. We have 4 PACE sites now, program all-inclusive care for the elderly, which is hoping to promote people to age in place with support. So certainly looking at those programs when you call Maryland Access Point is also now PG, Montgomery County, and 2 in Baltimore City.
And I want to plug next month. I think another great initiative that is going to be helpful to our state is the GUIDE program, and we'll be having a conversation on that with various GUIDE entities that are working on this initiative across the state. So we'll have a panel discussion with that. So mark your calendars for April the 16th at 12:15. GUIDE is a program. It's for Medicare dementia clients and their caregivers. Offers support and education for mild, moderate, and severe dementia. So it's also for the caregiver as well as the client. It's person-centered support, dementia client and their caregiver to promote quality of life and reduce stress. So that's a new national initiative, and it's new to Maryland and new to us at MAC as well. So we just put through our first 2 clients. So excited about that.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Mark, for a great presentation.
Oh, no
Appreciate
worries.
you. Okay,
It's a
thank
pleasure.
you.
Anytime.
And we will have this recorded. You will get links to the webinar as well as the resources and the PowerPoint. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.